Welcome to another episode of the Pentecast podcast. My name is Andrew Bella. Alongside me is my good friend Ryan Sellers.
Howdy.
Well, welcome back, Josh Ty. Glad to have you guys in the studio. You guys have your own couch. I mean, should we start saying, alongside me is my good friend Ryan Sellers, and I guess you can go, and alongside me is two
losers.
Good-looking young men.
Yes. Well, hey, another episode. So glad to have you guys listening, tuning in, and
we are wearing the same clothes as we did last week.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because we just recorded last week.
Well, we have washers and dryers.
That's right.
So, but we're glad to have everybody along for the ride, and just excited about what the Lord is going to do for us in the future.
Yes, sir.
I want to give people an update. We are officially a 501c3. That has been filed with the state of Georgia. So all of the patrons, everyone that's gave to the podcast, those funds have went to get this amazing building that we're in right now. Decorated, nice, insulated, this wonderful air conditioning unit. We're out here in South Georgia. We got to have air.
That's right.
All the equipment that you see, everything has been not just out of my pocket, but a lot of people that believe in what we're doing, just having good, godly conversations and talking about life and just stories of what's going on in your life.
Right.
You know, I want to look back in these stories. I want to look back like 20 years and go, man, that's what was going on in the world. And there is absolutely no lack for news of what's going on in the world, but I do want to fill you in. We are a 501c3 now, and I was really looking forward to hitting off the new year with starting the new year off with doing some supporting certain people in need, and that had to come to a postponing because my attorney hit me with the 501c3 bill, and so that's where all that money went. A bunch of it. So I didn't realize.
Nice.
But hey, you know what? Thank the Lord we had the money in the bank and some. So just in a few months, hopefully sooner than that, we're going to start doing what we have set out to do. This has been a long process, and I just thank the Lord that He's given us the strength and just the support of people, and it's awesome. I really look forward to doing these, because what better person to talk about than the Lord?
That's the truth.
And if He's with you, if He's in your heart, He's always with us. So He's along for the ride. He sees us, and I'm so thankful for that as well. So all glory and honor goes to God for sure, and the rest of it doesn't go to me or Ryan or these two guys. It goes to you, the listeners, the viewers. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I had a topic on my mind that I sent to you guys that I wanted to discuss. I had a few episodes that I wanted to do kind of back to back, maybe like a series of miracles, particular miracles. Today's episode, we're going to title it Financial Miracles. Next week, we're going to be airing, Lord willing, healing miracles. There's all different types of miracles that were recorded in the Bible and also just recorded in our history. And I thought about what an encouraging topic during the pandemic, during this inflation, during all the uncertainty, to know that God is still in the miracle-making business, right? So our minds can get so cloudy, man, with everything that's going on in the world. You think, man, this is bad, this is bad. And if we are not careful, we'll fail to realize, whoa, God's in control. He's still on His throne. Has He lost any power?
No, sir.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, opening the floor, financial miracles. Have any of you had a specific financial miracle that happened to you?
I don't think so. I was trying to think after you sent that out. There have been times that things were tight, and I had just enough money to pay whatever I needed. But you hear testimonies about I had a bill for X amount, and I opened up the mailbox, and there was X amount in the mailbox. I've never had that happen. I believe in it fully.
I have. Let me start off by saying this. There was a man in Irving, Texas. He was a salesman. I heard this from Pastor Robert Morris, and I thought this story was just so encouraging. This man started coming to his church, and he didn't know nothing about tithing. He didn't know anything about tithing. And I'm going to say something that I hope is not too bold.
Yeah.
But I really feel like, and I'm not saying that against you, but I think a lot of people don't see financial miracles because they're not giving. I really don't think that you can really tap into the miracle part of God as far as financially, because so many people hold their wallets. I wanted to do a study on, and it was based off of Robert Morris's teachings, and I've recommended it on this podcast for everybody to go to gatewaypublishing.com and buy those DVDs and the study material. I'm telling you, you will never look at tithing the same ever again. It is a commandment from God. It's not Old Testament. It's old and new. It is God's requirement. And let me tell you something. If people want to argue about paying tithe and giving to God, his people, and his church, if you want to argue that with me, check your heart first.
That's
and
right.
then we'll discuss it. But he gave you everything.
That's
he gave
right.
you his son.
That's right.
And you're going to argue about 10%? You know what I mean? So where's the spirit behind that? But
That's
Robert told this story of this salesman who recently got saved, and he said that the Lord laid this on my heart. And man, does this not sound like a prosperity preacher? But I don't think he is at all. He said, the Lord spoke to me and said, the first thing you need to teach him about is tithing. He's like, man, he just got saved. I'm trying to, introduce him to the blood and everything. He said, you need to tell him about tithing. So this salesman, he gets saved, and the next week, Robert Morris goes up to him. He says, listen, you need to pay 10%. He goes, what are you talking about? He said, you need to pay tithe. He said, man, I'm a commission-based salesman. He's like, look, I can't afford that right now. He said, let me tell you, you can't afford not to pay
That's
tithe.
right.
He said, okay. And he said, what did you make this? And of course, this is several years ago. He said, what did you make this week? He said, what do I pay? He said, 10% of whatever you made. He said, well, I made $640. He said, you pay $64. This guy goes, man, I really cannot afford to do that this week. He said, I'm telling you, trust God. And he said, okay. He said, I'm going to do it. And he's a new convert, writes a $64 check into the plate for the church. He comes to church the very next week with tears in his eyes, and he's just floored. And Robert goes, what's going on? He said, you're not going to believe what happened this week. He said, what? He said, the city of Irving, Texas, sent me a check in the mail because they had been charging me too much for my water bill. He said, do you know what the check was for?
$64.
Wrong. $640.
Good deal.
So that was such a faith builder for him.
Yeah.
Man, I remember being a rotten teenager that my mom and dad instilled with me at a young age. You pay your tithe. I paid 10% working at a discount tire company, making $80 a week, sometimes $180 a week. And I would pay 10% of whatever I made, and I gave it to church. And I saw, even as a 17 or a 16-year-old boy, that the Lord would bless me.
Yeah.
There's something about giving that causes financial miracles to happen even to us.
Right. And it's hard to teach or preach on tithing without sounding like a prosperity guy, because just like what you said, there is a direct relationship between giving and being blessed for that giving. But kind of even at Christmas time, we give gifts, we receive gifts. Some of us enjoy giving more than we do receiving.
Right.
My wife and I, when we're at a restaurant, we own a restaurant, so we kind of know the goings on of one. But we tip extremely well. And she and I, there's always a conversation about what to leave or maybe I trust her fully. You know, she's always got something going on in her brain, how much to leave. Or one time we went to a restaurant and the food was horrible. The service was horrible. We tipped the waitress. The cook brought us our food. We tipped the waitress, 20-something%. And then she took probably 60% and took it to the cook in the kitchen. Our tip was more than our meal. And that's fine. That's okay.
I love that.
And I'm not bragging on us. It's just
no. That's what makes these conversations so hard, because whenever you talk about your experience, people immediately go, "Oh, here he is bragging."
No.
But let me tell you something. Do it and see what happens to you.
I mean, we love doing it.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely.
It's
nothing.
not a burden whatsoever. We love to do it.
I'll never forget, giving the Lord putting on my heart to give a certain family money. When Amy and I first got married, I said, "Amy, I really feel like the Lord told me to do this." And of course, she never argued with it.
Right.
If I go to her and say, "Look, the Lord really spoke to me. I need these shoes,
Yeah.
or I want this new truck." She always has a problem with that. But anytime it's, "Hey, look, let's bless somebody else."
Right.
Amy let's do it 100%.
Right.
We'll make it happen. And every time, without fail, the Lord has just so blessed me and Amy. And the reason why I give, I got in a place financially, and I don't even mind sharing this, but when her and I got married, I got in a place where I was giving to people, and God was blessing us. And I veered away from that with my finances. I started buying and borrowing more money, and it tightened up our finances.
Yeah.
And I remember struggling spiritually really, really bad. And I remember praying. I started getting rid of things, not things that how do I say this? Not like I didn't get rid of my truck. I got rid of things like things that I like to do, certain hobbies that I had, thinking that was the reason why I was struggling spiritually. And I'll never forget, I can take you to the place where it happened. I remember praying, and I asked God, I need clarity. Why am I going through this? And I'll never forget, the Lord spoke to me and said this, that the reason why you're struggling is because you can't bless people with the finances I've blessed you with, like I had in the past. And I remember saying to myself right then and there, I said, Lord, God is my witness, the Lord has been so good to us, never been late on a bill, never have been to the place where I had to eat PB&J. I've always been able to do what I wanted financially. But when it got to the place where, look, you are driving a nice truck, you do have nice clothes, but there's nothing left over for me to bless anybody else. And I promised the Lord then, I said, I'll never put myself in a place financially where you can't get to my wallet.
Yeah.
And I think Brother Willie Guthrie, Robbie has told me this in the past, he said a lot of times in his preaching, he said, children, if God can't get in your wallet, you got too big of a grip on it.
Yeah.
So we're in this conversation going from paying your tithes to financial miracles because they're so intertwined. I've never looked at it this way until we talked about it, but you think about it, and especially you young guys, Josh and Ty, this isn't a training session for you, but we have spoke off the record on get it in your mind to bless people financially, because it rids you from the greediness. It rids you from selfishness, because God is none of those. God is none of those.
I think if I were to base myself right now, I think I'd be closer to that new convert that Robert talked about.
Just not knowing.
Well, I don't want to say that I'm unlearned. There are bits and pieces, but really the biggest conversation that me, you, and Josh had, that's where I learned the most about tithes.
Yeah.
And that's because I haven't really delved into it. I haven't learned much, and that's on me. That's my own fault.
Well, I don't buy that. You weren't raised in church. Josh, you weren't raised in church. As a matter of fact, you guys have been going to the same church for 8 years now. And what I told them, I said, you guys pay tithe, then this is what they said. You guys will attest to this. No one's told us how. No one's talked to us about it. And I understand. And I actually talked to our pastor about it. And even one of the deacons was sitting there. And I totally agree with our pastor. He says, it's kind of awkward for me to bring it up in the pulpit because he's had things happen in the past where people were looking at him like, well, you're money hungry. Right. So I totally understand. But as a teaching setting, it's got to be taught.
Right.
It's got to be taught because here we are. Have you had any financial miracles happen in your life? No, I haven't. Well, and I'm not, like I said, and I actually would like to push back on the financial miracles that you say haven't happened.
Yeah.
Because you've ran a restaurant.
Feel free because you're right.
You've ran a restaurant in the middle of a pandemic.
That's right.
And when we say financial miracles,
you're right.
I still don't have my private jet.
It's not,
but
I'm
it's
not
alive.
necessarily money coming in an envelope in your mailbox.
Yes.
It is. Speaking of, and I've spoke to this on the podcast before, when the pandemic hit, we had just bought the restaurant 4 or 5 months prior.
Stupid.
But we had just bought the restaurant, and then the pandemic hit, and it was total mayhem. And
hey, at least you had a good crew working for you.
Not really.
I remember being there and you being absolutely scared.
Yeah,
I was.
Because Josh was drinking $10 worth of milk on his shift.
Hey, dude, I was taking care of business.
Right.
But I mean, when there was nobody coming inside and eating,
right.
we were doing everything to go.
Right.
It was me, you, and Steven. And I remember just you being so worried.
Yep.
So I was right. You were wrong. There have been financial miracles.
You're absolutely correct. And when it started, I had faith that it was going to be okay. And I determined, this may sound foolish, and I'm not suggesting that anyone else do this, but I determined.
Sometimes faith sounds foolish.
Yeah. I determined then that if I was going to have faith, I wasn't going to pray about it because I had faith that it was going to be okay. So I never knelt down and said, okay, Lord, I am beyond petrified, because I did have faith that it was going to be okay. Did I know how? Absolutely not. So I remember we were doing over 300 to-go plates a night and nobody coming in.
I'm going to be frank with you. That was miserable. I hated working there. Dude, because
we had the most wonderful system set up.
They had whenever we hired them on at the car lot, Ryan, they had PTSD. Well, Josh didn't, but Ty had PTSD.
All he did was sit around and drink milk.
Dude, okay.
Ty had PTSD because I would go, hey, you guys want to go to DJ's? And Ty would go, no, I don't want to go.
Dude, well, no, it's because you eat the same food for 3 nights a week. You're
I worked there for 8 years.
Right.
I ate the same food every weekend.
I was there for
8 years.
I was there for what, 2.5 years, and then
too long.
Ryan, I don't want to hear that garbage. You know good and well, I ran a tight ship.
You're so stupid.
Hey,
everybody walked over you.
Hey, there wasn't no kinks in my system, no twist, no nothing.
I remember when he was your host, by the way.
No comment.
Now.
Literally, he was the host. If you've ever been to DJ's, you in this area will know when Josh was the host, it was like walking in and looking at Humpty Dumpty.
That's right.
And instead of him orchestrating, where y'all want to sit? All right, just pick a place.
That's not what I said at all. Andrew, you just have this outlook on me. You just look down on me.
I'm taller than you.
No, you're not.
To rein you back in, Josh, months later in the continued pandemic, I got worried. I got really worried, more scared than I was at any point. And I said, again, this might be foolish. I said, I didn't pray then, and I'm not going to pray now because I still have faith whether I feel like I do or not. And I never did. And everything's been all right.
Everything's been
paid
fine.
every bill. We haven't. We may not have paid ourselves, but we paid every bill.
Yeah. And see, that's the miracle.
And there are times that you just want to cry because it's just overwhelming.
Every night.
In a good way.
Yep. Financial miracles don't always come in private jets and nice houses.
Right.
Some of them come with the same check that you've always got.
The pandemic, I don't want to take up the whole episode with COVID, but it united business owners in that we were all in it together. And we still are, but in the early days, it was more acute. And it was wonderful. We ate out a lot just to support other people. And it was a really neat
And also people that were
relationship.
faithful to your restaurant showed up and rallied. So
Sure
who
did.
put that in their heart to do that?
Exactly. People,
God.
friends of mine who live 45 minutes away would come and eat and get to-go plates and take them home 45 minutes away and knowing good and well that food wasn't worth eating when you got there.
Yeah.
Just to support me.
And you got to think, I drove 30 minutes and
To
worked
drink
for you.
milk.
Josh, do you feel like you've had a financial miracle in your life, or something that you could
Other
could
than
say?
stealing milk.
Why do you? Honestly, everything is a financial miracle because, like, I look at like,
You're like the worst worker and you get paid every week.
no, that's wrong.
Every time you open that envelope from the office, do you look and go, thank God for another miracle?
Hey, God, look it out. No,
Hey, tell them about the time. This is a financial miracle for Josh. Tell them about the time that you had all these checks for student loans and you didn't use the money, but you couldn't get the reimbursement and you couldn't get the money and you still had to pay it back.
oh yeah. Well, they like would, I think, quarterly or whatever send you checks.
Yeah.
Reimbursement checks.
Right.
Because in high school, I was a little genius. Had like a 2.4 GPA. No, it was like a 3.3, but I didn't try. Like if I would have tried, I could have had a lot more
keep
scholarships.
Keep going.
But I say that to say this: that's where the money was coming from. The scholarships, they would go and they would pay you back. Well, I'd get them and I wouldn't think nothing of it. I'm like, I'll do it later. It's fine. I
Yeah.
mean, it ain't gonna go away.
Right.
And then eventually, I got all the checks and I looked at it and there was a decent amount of money, and I realized
Like
they
you
were
could have
all
paid all your loans off, right?
yeah. And I think I would have had some left over. And I realized
All the checks were expired.
yeah, they're expired.
Yeah.
And
Kind of like when you held those 10 or 12 checks that I paid you and then try to cash them all
Hey.
at one time.
That was after he quit, wasn't it?
Right, yeah.
Ching, they didn't. Hey, they were just as good as the day you wrote them.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm saving you money. I'm just
so
hitting you one time. Anyways, here, back to what I was saying. Yeah, so I realized all these checks are gone. And I'm sitting there
And you're an idiot.
realizing
How stupid you are.
because now I have to pay
back.
You're so
Free
stupid.
money.
Gave me
And
the
they
money.
would not write you new checks.
Well, I think part of it they might have, but I still had to pay a good bit of money, and I was like, I'm
Just
I-
because of
Your mom-
pure laziness.
Your mom was pretty upset too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
she should have
well,
killed it.
She wasn't
She
that mad
shoulda
at me
just
because
shot it.
it wasn't her money; it was my fault. She was just like, I said, so I have to pay this much money because of my own stupidity, and she
Right.
said, "Yep,
Yep.
pretty much."
and you
probably
know,
happy in that moment.
you want to know where I see the miracle in that story?
What,
Nowhere, you idiot.
dude? hey, you got to think about it like this, Ryan. I was faithful to DJs. I gave it everything I had.
30 minutes,
That's
30 minutes late every day.
You gave it everything you had.
Absolutely.
Hey, 30
You were never on time.
Hey,
Never.
hey,
He still isn't.
dude. Hey, it's a lot better. I've gradually got better because that was a lot different though. That was back in my
You're
high
a
school.
grown man.
I'm
You
ta-
should be better.
I'm talking about from when I worked with you. I was 16, 17 running your restaurant. Come on now.
So
Hey,
the question Ty
I'm
asked
sitting
you is, have you ever seen a financial miracle?
Yes.
Truly. Tell us.
I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, like what I was going to say. I was going to say about how I have a job now. How it happened was, I mean, completely out of nowhere. I had talked to him about it a little bit, but
And what did I tell you?
you told me, I think you could do it. But then later,
He said, no, I don't think you can.
no,
Don't lie on
No.
my podcast. What did I tell you?
you said, I think you could probably do it.
But
What'd you say?
I'm not going to hire you.
Okay. Well, he didn't hire me. Anyways, so that all I hear, I'm playing the game or something, and I hear, I think it was Seth say, "Hey, you hear they're hiring up at Aaron? Somebody they're just needing somebody." And I said, or he heard it from Carter or something. Well, I had Aaron's number. Don't even he literally still has me on my phone and as his phone as Josh New Corinth. That's how he had me in his phone, apparently.
And I don't even know how he associated you with church.
Because you never
playing ball.
Not really.
But no, what I was back to what I was saying. So I just text him randomly, and this is what he tells me. He says, "Appreciate you reaching out, but we already have somebody for the position or something." And I said, and I don't even think I don't know if I got a reply to him or what, or I might have replied to him. But the next morning, before I woke up, I got a text. Hey, I want you to come in for an interview.
Right.
Come in that same day.
Sure you bombed it.
Well, I was, I might have bombed it, but I bombed it with an A and passed. Dude, I'm telling you.
Bombed it like Russia.
I'm telling you. And I'm the best things ever happened there. And
I doubt it.
I'm just playing.
I will say that I have been extremely blessed in career moves. I've made some extreme blunders, some things that I have no idea why it didn't work. One example of things working out was when I first went to college. I went to college to work in the cath lab. I did that because I literally opened up a book on my mother's dining room table of careers and said, that sounds cool. And we did that.
That sounds like my life story. Just, okay, I'll do it.
So there was like two colleges in the state or something, one of which had a nursing program that my sister had applied for. So I said, yeah, I'll go to school with her. So we ended up moving to Pooler, Georgia. And
Where's that at? That's close to Savannah, isn't it?
Right.
So you went to school with your sister?
Yeah, we went to the
I
same
did not know
college.
that.
Yeah. Lived in the same apartment. After being separate for many years, it was quite tumultuous. So then, okay, I go to school for this career. I don't have a clue, how specified it is. The only cath lab at that point was in Tifton, Georgia. And I'm fine with working in Tifton, but I don't know that they're going to have a job when I get out. I mean, in hindsight, it was incredibly stupid. And
Like a lot of things you do.
You're right. And while I'm in college, I remember I was at my mother-in-law's house, and she showed me the paper, or I'm looking at the paper, and Coffee Regional Medical Center in Douglas, Georgia, opens a cath lab. And my stepdad was friends with the physician, so I went, and this was like my first semester in college, and I went to this physician's office and met in his personal office and basically had a job from that moment on. And I ended up working in that hospital for 8.5 years.
Wow.
Just total dumb luck. I mean, I know it
Steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord.
Right. I mean, I know it was the Lord helping me, but you cannot make it up. And then this career that I'm in now, I'm in Vidalia. It all came about by texting someone that I used to work with, said, hey, why don't you get me a job over there? The next day I'm on the phone with them.
Don't look at your financial miracles as these huge, huge things. Look at a financial miracle as bread on the table, especially in this time we live in. God moves in the small things. He moves in the large things. He is the God of huge financial miracles. He's also the God that can just be your provider, and it's equally as great of a miracle.
Yep. Keep your eyes open. There's miracles everywhere. We love you. Hope you have a great week. Over and under.